It's my great pleasure to introduce speaker representing the class of 2007, Tim Kava.
Okay. Esteemed faculty, administrators, trustees, family, friends, and fellow graduates, good afternoon. I stand before you today with an incredibly intimidating task. Why should attempting to culminate our years here prove to be so daunting? There are no high notes to hit. I have my lines right in front of me. The choreography is fairly simple, and as far as I know, I'm not being graded on my performance. This should be the easiest assignment I've had in 4 years, and yet compressing so much time into a brief speech proved agonizingly difficult. After days of staring into a blank computer screen, mulling over memories of the past 4 years, I was unable to distill these moments into an adequate reflection of our experience. I then realized that my approach was all wrong. I was trying to write the correct speech, the one with the right balance of humor and poignancy, the kind of speech in the inspirational section of Barnes & Noble, all the right packaging, yet lacking significant content, and my truth. 1 year ago, in the theater division, the time came to select an emphasis for senior year. I picked directing and had the chance to direct a work in the Off Broadway Festival, celebrating the experimental cafe-style theater of the 1960s Manhattan. Among the 11 potential plays, I found one called Daddy Violet. Let me give you a general summary of Daddy Violet. 3 actors are warming up for a performance. In the process, they transform into flowers, have some sort of sexual exchange, get sucked into a super real visualization of the Mekong Delta during the Vietnam War, destroy the room convulsing and screaming, and finally return to reality, only to merge into a 3-headed flower that dissolves into the setting of a Steinbeck novel. For some reason, I was the only one to request to direct this play. It excited me because it terrified me. This was only my second time directing, and I was supposed to breathe life into what I could only assume was the result of some episode these 3 actors had back in the 1960s. I must admit, during those first few rehearsals, I had no idea what I was doing. But as we progressed, the play took on its own life. I was merely sitting on its giant chest, rising and falling to its rhythmic breathing. Later, for my full production, I directed a play called Red Light Winter. The summary for this one was slightly more realistic, yet hardly more comfortable. Essentially, it concerns 2 20-something American men who find refuge in an AIDS-infected prostitute in Amsterdam. A violent love triangle ensues, its aftermath devastating the audience. When I finished reading Red Light Winter for the first time, I was shocked by its conclusion. So terrified of attempting to put it on stage, I knew I had to try it. And I did. Once again, I faked my way through the first few days of rehearsal, but eventually found the rhythm of this world, and together, we made theater. Indirectly, sitting at the back of the house, I was able to say so much. In these plays, I saw an external, materialized version of my internal feeling, which was that life is chaotic. It rarely makes sense, it frightens me, makes me laugh, it is vulgar, crude, painful, and all the while so beautiful. It is a hot, pulsating, ever-changing living thing that I do not and cannot understand. And seeing that manifestation of my deepest feelings was so exciting. You see, I didn't understand these plays, but it was as though, unlike in real life, I had the freedom to explore and revel in that confusion. I let myself be repulsed and bewildered by the angular, jagged, nonsensical force of consequence. I had found a way to share with the world something that had been beating within my heart my entire life, but for which I could not find the words. And that was, I don't get it, but that's okay. And in extending that thought through a medium so much more powerful than any speech, I felt that I had actually connected with the world outside of myself. That's what I've learned here. Art is powerful. In writing this speech, when I repeatedly failed to verbalize my thoughts about our cumulative experiences here, I realized that mere anecdotal commentary of momentous collegiate events would not suffice. But through our artistic media, we can connect with others on an acutely intimate level. I've experienced this both as a performer and an audience member. I remember sitting alone in the empty upper tier of Sanders Theater, breathing in rhythm as the last movement of a Mahler symphony actually brought me to tears. Or when I was entirely consumed by a dance piece about 9/11. I also recall the sudden and tragic loss of James Gould's sophomore year, the moment we all shared as we gathered in the main stage and collectively exhaled as a faculty cellist offered a musical tribute. This showed me the truly transformative power of art. We have seen national debates of morality fought right down the street on Beacon Hill. We have watched hundreds of thousands celebrate a World Series championship in a manner known only to Boston sports fans. Some of us stood in Copley Square as the entire world tuned in to see the results of the most hotly contested presidential election in American history. And every time, we came back to our tiny little home across from the Fens, a few blocks from Fenway Park, down the street from Symphony Hall, and we served as the filter through which the chaotic events of the world were strained and presented, consciously or otherwise, structured in form, style, and technique. As artists, I liken us to the prism on the cover of that Pink Floyd album. The events of the world strike us as a thin white line and burst forth on the other side a beautiful mass of color. These experiences taught me that art is not only powerful, it matters. At a time when the subordination of the arts is a federally institutionalized process, when public schools are losing entire arts departments to make way for more standardized programs, when your friends from home look at you and say, "Yeah, but you don't go to real college." With all these things, it is life-changing to be able to say that you have found your truth in art. My fellow graduates, as we walk out of these conservatory doors, we enter into a world with an ever-increasing need for communication among its citizens. While the quantity of communication is greater than ever before, the quality still leaves us as isolated pods struggling to connect over vast technological chasms. In a cycle with ever-narrowing wavelengths, senseless tragedy strikes anywhere. And upon reflection of these events, we notice an isolation, a miscommunication, or a lack of understanding between people or communities or entire nations. The very world that devalues the worth of art is the same one that so desperately aches for its harmonizing influences. Where words fail, art succeeds limitlessly. As artists, we have immense power, and with that power comes responsibility and enormous opportunity. Today, I challenge myself, and I hope you will do the same, to take what we have learned here and allow ourselves to be free enough in our art to let it speak the volumes which we cannot. We have taken great risks and failed in very public ways in front of peers, mentors, and audiences. However, it has been our great failures and constant striving for success that has brought us closer to the ability to discover and reveal that truth inside ourselves. And in connecting with that very core of our being through art, we will undoubtedly connect with that of another, which will take us one tiny step closer to the potential unified oneness of humanity. I've learned that great art, like life, will never be simple. It will never be explainable, but it will always be worth it. And for that lesson, I am eternally grateful. To my peers in the Boston Conservatory graduating class of 2007, thank you, congratulations, and break a leg.